This hangout on air is live, apparently. I hope this is working. I have no idea how to check if people are watching. Let me go to another window here. Okay, there we go. Let's turn the volume off. Okay, now I can check and see. There's 2 people watching now. Awesome. Okay, I'll periodically switch windows and go and check everybody's comments. And per the usual etiquette, if you have questions, put that all in caps. Otherwise, we'll just keep rolling along with the questions we have written down, and I'll go back and check everybody's comments. So, yay, this is my first live chat, and it's an honor to do this live chat with mi esposo, Darío. Say hello.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So, yes, this is my hubby, and as many of you know or maybe don't know, during the academic year, we are long distance and have been since fall 2014. So, like, we're fucking warriors when it comes to that. So he is in Georgia and I'm in Massachusetts. So actually this kind of feels like when we Skype each other every night. It's kind of how it feels to me, except we're broadcasting it for the whole world. Let me see if anybody... Okay, we got some people. Okay, somebody liked it. We have a couple people watching. There's like, they see what we're saying and doing like a few seconds afterwards, so there's a little bit of delay.
Okay. Well.
So let's just dive in. Okay, Mimor. I'm just gonna have you introduce yourself. Say sure. where you're from. How did you come to the U.S.? How did you get here? What have you been doing while you're here? All that kind of fun stuff.
Well, I am originally from Chile, and I came here to the U.S. in January of 2010. I came here on a scholarship paid by the Chilean government to come here and get a PhD. I'm getting my PhD in mathematics education in particular, and I've been here for 7 years trying to finish this, and I'm still
well, that's the nature.
I'm still fighting.
That's the nature of a PhD.
It can be, I guess. I guess so. Yeah. Well, I mean, not many people take 7 years. So if anybody it's like listening to and it's interested to go to grad school, don't get scared. I'm just a slow learner.
Nah,
you'll be fine.
He's lying because my university gave me 6 years of funding, and then if I need more funding after that, I just apply for grants and stuff. And I think the average is actually to take 7 or 8 years, so it's fine. It's fine.
Never mind. Well, that's how I came here, and what I do. I've been a student for 7 years here. I had some experience working before because I'm a math teacher as well, or I was a math teacher back in Chile, and also I was a college instructor as well. Back in Chile, and then I came here and became a student again. Yeah. Hopefully I'm gonna become a professor soon.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be finishing that dissertation beast this summer.
Yeah. Oh, my wife is gonna kill me.
No. No killing is gonna happen. Okay, so I have a question about how did you come about pagan-y, witchcrafty, new agey things, and is there anything you remember from your experiences in Chile that influence anything pagan-y that you do? Like, how did this way come about? How did this come about?
Well, it's complicated. I don't know if I would say that well, let's say that I came about paganism, or let's say I got more into and more aware of it, of the pagan practices, and I grew fan of them because of you, because of my wife. She was the one that introduced me to the pagan world practices and the witchcraft. That's how I came to paganism. Now, Chilean influences, I don't know if I would call them influences. What I would say, it's like after you introduced me to paganism and witchcraft, I start recognizing some of the practices that I used to do or see my parents or grandparents doing in Chile that I would totally call now like pagan practices. Even though, I mean, I'm from Latin America, and like even though I'm Catholic, but Catholics in Latin America are a little different than in the United States. People believe a lot in angels, and something my father used to call an animita, which is some sort of spirits. Animitas are usually spirits of people that die, and you can interact with them by praying or giving offers. Especially because my dad used to be a truck driver, so on the roads you see a lot of like little houses and things that people build when somebody dies there, usually kids. So my dad used to believe that the spirit of the little kid was still there. So sometimes he would stop and leave a flower or whatever, and ask for something. So I would say, though, that was totally pagan. I mean, if you ask me.
Right. And you've also told me about like kind of superstitious kind of things, like something about sweeping away someone's luck. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, like if you are sweeping, like, what is it called when you're, it's sweeping. If you are sweeping anywhere, you usually like tell, if you are gonna like start sweeping and there is a person close, you just tell him to like move, or otherwise you're gonna just sweep their luck away for some reason. I don't know why would you do that with so I mean, people, the funny thing is like everybody moves,
right?
Because everybody's like, you know what, just in case, I'm gonna move.
Right. And it's interesting, my advisor up here, she's Dominican, and I was talking to her about that a while ago, and she said, if you in the Dominican Republic, if you have really bad neighbors and you want them to move away, you also use a broom. And what you do is you take one of those old school broom, like old school homemade brooms, and you put 3 grains of salt in the broom, and then you just leave it outside your neighbor's door.
Wow.
And it's supposed to like bring bad luck on them, or be like a hot foot powder of some sort or something like that. So that made me think of that. You were also telling me yesterday about your friend Pablo and like his mom's influences on him, and like beliefs about insects and spiders. Can you go into that a little bit? Because that was fascinating.
Yeah, it's now it's more than believing like in insect of spiders as bad thing or anything like that. It's they believe that there are certain people that attract insects or spiders. Usually are people with some issues or that have gone through certain trauma. So those type of people like attract insects and spiders for some reason. I have no idea. I've never really talked to them in depth about it, but she used to be careful about things like that, and it's very important for her to clean. It's like the cleaning, it becomes more than just dusting and like putting things away, and like there is certain like what is it called, ritual aspect of it.
Mm.
You know,
Oh,
try
yeah.
to keep the demons, I guess, away from the house,
Right.
which is interesting. Yeah, yeah. My friend Paolo still believes that in things like that. Um, I remember once because we used to live together, a couple of friends from college. Pablo was one of them, and so there was this summer. I don't know if the summer was special or anything like that, but we had a lot of ants.
Mm.
And ants were like, it was amazing, man. They were even getting into the fridge, which is
Oh.
something that usually ants don't do. Um, so he was like worried that maybe we were attracting some sort of like bad influence or bad spirits into the apartment or something like that. I remember him being worried about that. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, that's really interesting. Let
It
me
is
take.
interesting. I'm sorry that I don't have more information because I never, you know, pretty much my introduction to paganism, a formal introduction, it was with you.
Yay, I was your. I convinced you to leave the path of light and start worshiping Satan and whatnot.
Yeah, you
That's
put my
good.
sherry.
I popped your pagan sherry. Well, let me just have some shout outs. Oh, Gerardo, the scientist witch is here. Hello, Gerardo. Bienvenido.
Oh, it's the person from Chile, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice, nice.
You Chileno.
Yeah.
There are more Chilean brujos and paganos out there. And then we also have Mystic Crone. So shout out to Mystic Crone. Hello for tuning in to my very first live video. I'm so happy I figured out how to do this. It was a journey to figure out how to do.
Yeah.
You don't even know. I haven't even told you the whole story about it because it's kind of embarrassing. I'll tell you after. Okay. So so we talked about where you're from and how you came to the U.S. and your intro to paganism and like some folklore and practices and beliefs in Chile. So a lot of the questions, we worked these questions out ahead of time, by the way. And some of these questions are for both of us. So I'll answer it, I guess. What place does a witchy practice have in your daily life, or do you have a daily or regular witchy practice? And if so, what meaning does it have for you?
Well, before answering that question again, I'm gonna have to say something. Actually, it's gonna answer the question that comes after it.
Uh-oh. Okay. There you go.
Because it's to make a little sense of the answer is I would have to like situate myself within certain framework, and I would say if I have to call myself anything spiritually or try to classify myself just to make sense of the question, I would say like I'm a pagan atheist.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I probably should have asked that before. Like, how would you classify yourself?
Well, I mean, so as a pagan atheist, I don't know if that term really exists, but what I mean by that
It does now.
it does now, right? So I consider myself a pagan because I take part in their pagan rituals. For example, I do tarot, or I have read books about magic. I have an altar. I burn incense, and as a ritual, I oint myself with oils.
Anoint.
Yeah, anoint myself with oils. So
That too.
right. So I have these. That's why I would call myself a pagan. And the part of being an atheist, it's I think I'm an atheist because I don't really believe in deities in general. To me, deities are archetypes or ideas that we personify them, or we associate it with objects and symbols, because this is all my opinion, by the way, because that's the way that we can make sense of things. That's how we can like reflect upon them. So based on that, then the pagan practices for me, what they do, what I think they do for me, why I use them, it's because they help me improve myself intellectually and ethically. And also they help me make decisions. There is a profound aspect and a practical aspect. The practical aspect is that sometimes when I'm in trouble, when sometimes I don't know how to make a decision and I need to make a decision, when I'm feeling anxious about something, or simply sometimes, I don't know, I feel like I cannot go and sleep because I'm stressed out. So the act of like following ritual or doing pagan practices, it helped me, for example, reflect about something. If I cannot make a decision, I would consult the tarot, but not because the cards are going to tell me what's going to happen, or not what I think. That's not what I think it would happen. I use the tarot as a tool because the images and the symbols are so rich that they allow my mind to bring about the specific things that are really worrying me, so then I can put them there for myself outside, so I can reflect upon them and make decisions. Right? So that would be the practical aspect. And the more profound one would be because there is an ethic to paganism, or at least as I understand it, or as I want to understand it. As a pagan atheist, as a person that doesn't believe that there is a superior moral, above us, it's very important that we as human beings get our shit together and figure out what are the right things to do.
Yeah. We've talked about this a lot before, and I talked about it in the video I posted last night. Let me plug that in. Yeah, I guess let me answer the question for me and like touch on all the things that you touched on. So you identify yourself thus far as a pagan atheist. I would identify myself as more of a pantheist. Which and I'm reading Godless Paganism right now. I've slowly been working my way through it, and I highly recommend it for you, Mimor. It's all about that like spectrum of paganism. Like, it's very common to think of paganism as that umbrella term, that holds or covers lots of different styles or belief systems, but it's also kind of a spectrum, and they really go into it in that book, Godless Paganism.
Interesting.
So I'm working my way through it. So thus far, I think I would see myself as a pantheist that sees like existence itself and the fact that I am aware and conscious of existence as divine. It's both of those things. It's not just existence, it's the fact that I'm aware of it and I can think about it. That's what is divine to me. And I agree with you like 100%. Of course, we've had lots of discussions and private conversations about this, and the idea of ethics and morals and where do they come from and things like that. So there is a very practical side, the very almost like microcosmic and then the macrocosmic kind of implications of at least how we tend to view paganism. Like the microcosmic, the interior cosmos is that self-development and self-exploration and the psycho-spiritual development and things like that. And then the macrocosmic, or the greater implications of a more pagan versus a monotheistic way of thinking, and I say monotheistic. If you've seen my video from last night, you kind of understand how I define monotheism. But just really quickly, I'll go over it again. Monotheism to me isn't just simply the Christian God, even though that's the first thing that comes into our minds as people in the West.
Right.
It's thinking that there's only one possible theory or belief system, you know, one allowable theory or belief system as to how the universe works and our place in it, you know. So I really see paganism as a way to like move beyond monotheism, because I think we've experienced and experimented with monotheism for a few thousand years now, and I honestly don't think it's working.
Yeah.
So I think paganism as a way, an alternative way of spirituality, but also an alternative way of beginning to think about ethics. It's been revolutionary for me, at least personally. I can't speak for you on that part, but I do agree with you as the, you know, the practical or the microcosmic, and then the more profound implications of this. It's liberating. It's very liberating.
Yeah, it is liberating. It is liberating. Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, Scientist Witch says, or Gerardo says, ¿Cómo estáis? It's so Chilean. I love it. Yay, Chilean Spanish.
No, bien, sí.
Saludos. Bien.
Saludos.
Bien,
Scientist Witch, ese es el nombre, ¿verdad?
Sí, Gerardo. Yay, I really would identify as a pantheist too, but labeling yourself is so hard because sometimes the state you are in at some points are not 100% one label.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% de acuerdo. 100%. I agree. Like, there are days where I really do think I could lean more towards like the atheist end of the spectrum, and then there are other days where, and this happened recently, where I think I've discovered or encountered or accepted my possible matron.
Right.
Which I talked a little bit about in my spring equinox video from earlier this week. Yeah, but it, you know, it's, and I kind of touched on this last night too. It's just being okay with like the ebb and flow of uncertainty and just riding the wave, because riding the wave is more important than whatever label you put on that wave, right? Or at least that's my personal.
Right. I mean, understanding labels as a tool. We sometimes need to name things in order to think about them.
Right.
I mean, language is powerful. Once you are able to put something in the domain of language, you are able to think about it in a more efficient way, or it allows you to put it out there and reflect about it and share it with other people. So labels are important tools, but they are tools.
Right.
And at the moment that the tool becomes less efficient, or it becomes an obstacle for you to progress, like just get rid of that tool and use something else. I'm calling myself a pagan atheist, right? But I don't have any problem if a week from now, you know, I discover that I was wrong, and probably I need to think differently. Or I just feel like not being a pagan atheist anymore, and I want to be something else. We had a similar discussion once with some people in my department. I don't know if you remember. We were talking about theories and how theories in academia sometimes become dogma.
Yeah, this is one of those late night multiple beer discussions.
Exactly. So there are sometimes people in academia that they like get behind a theory and they really believe in it, which is fine. But my criticism is like they then try to apply this theory to every single phenomenon and like try to explain everything from it. And sometimes you have to understand every theory had its limitations. And at the moment that the theory became inadequate, you need to feel flexible enough to change it for a better tool. Right. I mean, just like a Scientist Witch was saying, sometimes it's hard to label, because one day I feel one way and the next day I'm gonna feel different.
Right.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Just change the label.
Right. This conversation and other conversations we've had and I've had is, I just need to read more on chaos magic, because I think more and more it makes sense that I'm such a chaot, but I just haven't had the time or the money to buy the books, the classic books of chaos magic. And every time I go to my local witchy shop, I see them on the shelf and I'm like, oh, oh, oh,
We will have money soon when I get a job. You know what? I think now that you mentioned chaos, why don't you just answer question number 7?
Oh, is that where you're asking me about why do I feel so attracted to chaos?
Uh-huh. Why do you feel attracted to chaos?
Okay, so, God, where do I begin with this?
It's a hard question.
I know, like a long time ago. No. But I would say, hopefully this will make sense. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been very introspective and lost in my thoughts, and very, I would observe. I was very much an observer as a little kid. I wasn't much of like a talker or an active person. I was more like receiving and processing and thinking, which makes sense that I'm getting a PhD now. And so it was to the point to where I was actually tested for autism because I was such a late talker. Because I just didn't talk until I was almost 3, because I guess I just didn't have much to say. And so I've always been lost in my thoughts and explored that realm. Like it's always been very easy for me to just like switch into a more meditative state and go like inward and do those inward journeys. And by going inward, even before I ever heard of paganism or knew what any of this like new agey woo-woo stuff was, in those inward journeys, I always felt attracted to like rebellion and change and instability and unpredictability. And when I say rebellion, I mean like social rebellion, and all like look at all the protests and stuff and people standing up, and like the unpredictability of social movements and things like that. And so if you fast forward to where I am now, me being a feminist and an intersectional queer theory feminist in a Latino studies program, studying, well, I won't go into that because I can just talk about that all day, but my feminism has like reached in there and started to influence me in that direction. My academic theory, or the theory that I want to like develop in my dissertation, has to do with apocalypse. Like the chaotic end of things. The end of everything allows for new beginnings, right? Almost. Uh-oh, did I go away?
I'm here.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, my picture went away for a second. Okay. And the apocalypse is, I have dreams about the apocalypse. It drives me. It becomes like an obsession. So all that being said, that makes me think of like the chaotic forces of nature too. How you never know when an earthquake is going to hit, right? That's something pertinent to Chile. I actually experienced my very first earthquake ever. It was very mild. It's more of a tremor on my birthday when we were in Santiago.
We actually were in Santiago. We were on the beach.
No, that was after.
Oh.
It was my birthday. We were in Pablo and Gonzalo's apartment.
You're right. So you actually experienced 2 tremors. That's amazing.
Well, we were in Chile, yeah. And that was the first time ever for me. So like the forces of nature, you never know when an earthquake's going to hit. You never know when, all this destructive things are going to happen. But it's not just destruction. It's also creation. right? And so many pagans, not all, but many witches and pagans and whatnot, they, you know, modern paganism has been heavily, almost said heavenly, but it has been heavenly influenced by feminism, right? In the last like 40 to 50 years. And the rise of goddess worship and the appreciation of goddess energy or the divine or sacred feminine, right? And the god, like this rising of the goddess and appreciation and worship of the goddess balances out the sacred masculine to me. And you and I have talked a lot about this before. Actually, I have a 2-part discussion series with you the first time you appeared on my channel, where we're talking about order and chaos and how we understand order and chaos as this like divine or sacred duality, right? And if you asked me, like, it's that duality, the synthesis of that duality, and then something more than just the mere synthesis of that duality, to quote Dorian Sandua. That is what I believe in, or how the universe works. And a lot of this has to do with, you know, which you understand a little bit more of the mathematics behind, which I want to ask you about as soon as I'm done.
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert on that. Just...
No, but like you know the names of the theories and whatnot. So I want to ask you about that in a second. But so I feel like I've been rambling. So like, yes, feminism, queer theory, the influence of paganism and goddess worship has all come together to make me like, I just feel more connected to chaos. And if you understand chaos, not just as like crazy violence and destruction, but as that part of that duality of order and chaos, where there's an ebb and flow of creation and destruction, and it's actually order and chaos coming together that make things like fractals or complex systems. And it's creation and destruction, right?
That's, you know...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought that you were... I kind of wanted to extend, as a fan of chaos, as you are like, you know, showing right now. It would be because I what you were just saying is so interesting. You know, when we say the word chaos, we all in general start thinking, oh, this is destruction, complete disorder, and you know, like all the negative aspects. You know, like chaos, probably because we've been, you know, dominated by positivism for so long, and blah blah blah, and patriarchy. So we kind of, as in general, we tend to prefer order, and like that's the good thing, and chaos is like the bad thing. But you were just talking about balance. Could you say? I guess my question is, why do we need chaos, Rachel?
Why do we need chaos? Because without chaos,
why is that a balance?
Without chaos or change, right? It would just be stagnation and stability. Like chaos is what allows for change. And when I say change, I'm talking in terms of evolution. I'm talking in terms of the explosion of a supernova, but I'm also talking in terms of like social phenomena, like you know, violent revolutions, or also things like the civil rights movement. You know, a very classic example is, oh my God, what's her name? Rosa Parks. And I know she wasn't the original person who refused to give up her seat. Rosa Parks was actually chosen, and it was kind of a planned thing. But still,
yeah, you're referring to the historical moment that happened.
The historical moment where Rosa Parks goes on a bus and refuses to give up her seat. And that was just one of many historical moments within the civil rights movement, but it was a spark, and all these individual sparks come together and create a revolution, right? And so that is why it's important to remember chaos is not just the like, evil, violent destruction. It's what allows for change, and change is good.
So
you know, change is necessary.
So would you say that there is such a thing as too much order?
I would say, well, I'm more familiar with like socially speaking. You know, I'm in the humanities, right?
Right. I mean, I'm just right. It's bad to have too much order.
Right. I would say actually, it's more of there's more power given and more of an appreciation given to order over chaos. And this, like speaking in terms of like patriarchy.
Oh yeah.
And the maintenance and well, patriarchy and all the phobias, you know, homophobia, Islamophobia, transphobia, misogyny, sexism, right. Like all that. It's all about maintaining the status quo and preventing change and evolution from happening, like social change and social evolution.
Maintaining the hierarchy.
In maintaining hierarchies and imbalances of power, where power is vertical and not horizontal, right? So yeah, I would definitely say socially, at least in the Western world and in other parts of the world, thanks to colonialism, Western European colonialism, there is definitely a favoring of order, of masculine principles or the divine masculine over chaos or the divine feminine principles.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at the 3 Abrahamic religions. You know, there's only one possible God, and it's male, and the male God has, you know, taken the place of any sort of like female creation deity. You know, like, which just anyway.
Well, sorry, I went out with another question. I don't want to bore the people who are listening.
No, that's fine. So my question about oral, can you go into like what you were texting me about last night about that principle, that mathematical principle, the demon
it wasn't a mathematical principle. It was something that Laplace. I don't remember his first name, but Laplace was. It's still, you know, he died long ago. But it's a very famous mathematician and scholar in general, because he also, I think, studied philosophy and other stuff. I don't remember. But in mathematics, it's known, Laplace, for his contribution from the 19th century. So back then, the field of science and mathematics was super deterministic. Like the paradigm that was, I mean, not like today, you know, they are like, there's still many people there in science and math that believe completely in determinism, you know. But it was worse in the 19th century. Let's just say that. So Laplace published something that became known as Laplace demon. People have studied calculus, have heard of Laplace. Well, Laplace demon was basically a writing about that claims that if you are able to know exactly the position and the velocity of every single particle in the universe at a given time, then you are able to predict the future state of the universe.
Order, right?
Right. Completely deterministic in the sense that there is no uncertainty if you know every single position and velocity of every particle in the universe. I mean, it's impossible that anybody can do that. That's why it's called Laplace demon, because it's only a demon could like knew all that shit. But
that's kind of awesome though that they called it a demon.
They call it a demon, right? But the thing is that this idea have been debunked later by debunked, sorry, by like relatively new discoveries in mathematics, especially those that happened in the 70s. When the most famous one, and it's from that expression butterfly effect comes from.
Right.
It's Lorentz, who wasn't really a mathematician. He was a climate scientist. So he was trying to model, create a mathematical model of climate, and he construct his equations, and then he realized that it was taking him too much time to do calculations with 6 decimals. So he just reduced it to 3 decimals, because in the deterministic way of thinking, and a small change at the beginning, it only means that something's and a small change at the end. But that small change for Lawrence, he started realizing that his outcomes were completely different. So a little small change at the beginning, it became something completely different outcome at the end. So then you lost predictability, right? So that experiment and many others in mathematics, especially with quadratic equations that I know, debunked Laplace demon, because when you wrote the equation, you technically are that demon that knows all the variables are there. The system is completely deterministic in the sense that all the variables are included on the equation. But then when you start doing the calculations, like Lawrence did, and you change a little bit, and then you start realizing that the outcomes are being completely different. So how is it possible that from something that we believe was completely deterministic, like just like that demon, we have the knowledge of all the information necessary to predict the future, and we are unable to predict it. Something happens. There is a different property that emerged there. Even though the system is completely deterministic, it has uncertainty and chaos. And I don't know if this is making any sense. I'm trying to
no, this is
explain
great.
my problem. I'm not doing a good job.
No, you are.
But the point is, because what the Laplace demon, it's something that if you would say, if you know every particle in the universe, at a certain moment you're going to be able to predict. It sounds very like intuitive. But then you have these people, like I told later, even in very simplistic equations, like one that is known as the logistic model, that, believe it or not, you probably saw it in high school. A very simple equation. This equation, depending on the values that you give to certain parameters, it starts showing chaotic behavior. By chaotic behavior, I mean you are unable to predict a future outcome, even though you know everything that you need to know at a particular moment in the present. For some reason, it's impossible to predict the outcome. That I ever hear, it's like a river that then ends in a waterfall. So then you have these 2 little drops of water that are very close together on the river, very close. But at the moment that they hit the waterfall and all the chaos happen, these 2 little drops of water end up like separated by, like, I don't know, feet, for example, it would be like along. Even though they were very close together at the beginning, that didn't mean that they end up very close together at the end. And that like throws certainty out of the window. Especially when you consider that every time you measure something, there is a measurement error. So if the true value is something like 3, but because there is a measurement error when you're measuring all the time, you just get, 2.99. You say, that's close to 3. We can do calculations with that. Well, that's what Lawrence thought. But the outcome was completely different.
Right.
Even though the 2.99 is super close to 3, the outcome wasn't close. The 2 outcomes weren't close, just like the 2 drops of water. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying. I tried to make sense of it. I'm sorry, it was too long. It was too long.
No. Like, this is why I married you, because your brain is so sexy. No, it's, you know, and well, Scientist Witch, let me, he has a question about chaos magic, like explaining a little bit about chaos magic. So I am not the expert, Gerardo. I am not the expert about chaos magic. I've just dipped my toe in, and like I've slowly been learning little bits and pieces from here or there. I know you probably, Scientist Witch, you've probably heard of Kellyanne Maddox's channel. Like, she's the queen of card slinging and chaos, and I think she has a video on the 6 principles of chaos magic, which if you just look up principles of chaos magic on YouTube, her video is like one of the first to come up because so many people viewed it. I can't remember all 6 principles of chaos magic right now, but the one that has impacted me the most is the idea that belief is a tool. And that kind of ties into this idea of uncertainty that, like what Darío was just talking about, this unpredictability kind of ties in for me, because, you know, we're talking about complex systems like climate or, you know, spiral galaxies in the universe and whatever, and chemical reactions, right? That's where the chaotic, unpredictable, you know, chaos or social phenomenon or phenomena too. That's where order comes from chaos, and chaos turns back into order. It's this constant like movement and cycling, right? Well, that in spiritual terms for me has a lot to do with being okay with uncertainty, or the idea that belief is a tool, which like we've kind of touched on throughout this video, this idea of like being open to change, being open to switch up the labels that we use to describe ourselves, or being conscious of the limitations of the labels that we choose to use at any given time. Like right now, I feel like a pantheist. A few days from now, I might be leaning more towards atheism. A few days later, I might be leaning more towards like understanding deity in a different way. And that right there, I think, is the power of not only like paganism as a spirituality, like, you know, on that spectrum of paganism or under that umbrella of paganism, but also the power of magic, right? Because that unpredictability is, to me, it's potentiality. It's
it is, exactly.
it allows for change, right?
It makes to have a possibility, yeah.
Right, and so I feel
other things can happen.
Right, and it can be kind of dangerous because you don't know exactly how like the outcome is going to be. But I feel like magic is me being a co-creative force with and within the universe, right? Because I am part of the all, but I'm also, you know, a conscious being that's able to like think separately from the all, if that makes sense. You know, like I'm an independent conscious being. I can think about existence in abstract terms, but I'm also part of that all-encompassing existence. So I'm a co-creative force with and within the universe. And that means I can direct my thoughts or energy. And I can like, it's almost like you have a balloon, right? And you let it go. You don't know exactly where that balloon is going to go, but like you have an intention in that balloon and you release it.
Right.
You know? That's what I think, that's my theory about what magic is. But to go back to chaos magic, and I would check out Kellyanne Maddox, her channel. I know she's a chaos witch. I know Phil Hines and is one author, and there's another author. His last name is Carroll. I can't remember his first name. But there's, I think, a book called Prime Chaos and a book called Liber Null, which are considered some of the like introductory or foundational books about chaos magic. And I think Phil Hine and this Carol dude, they were influenced by mathematical chaos theory because I don't think it's a coincidence that the theory of chaos magic kind of rose in the 1970s and 80s at the same time that mathematical chaos theory kind of arose. So I think they were influenced by that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were many people that were thinking about those things before even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think chaos magic has been influenced by mathematical chaos theory and things like that. So yeah, we've been talking about chaos for a while. Do you want to move on to another question?
Sure.
We've touched on a lot of this already.
Yeah, we did. That's good. That's good.
Yay. Yeah, because we've been here for almost an hour, so I don't want to take up too many people's time. But I have a question for you. How do you feel?
We can do this one, the last question.
Okay.
If you want. I don't know.
Well, we might have a little bit more time to touch on some of the other ones, but how do you feel being married to a witch? Because you yourself don't necessarily identify yourself as a witch, right?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, it's mostly because if I usually you are the one telling me what to do for a ritual or anything. Many of the things I learn. Yeah, I would say I'm probably not a witch yet. I would need to. I feel like I would need to practice more in order to call myself a witch. But being married to a witch, I don't know. I think it's very fun. No, it is true. It is true. Well, I don't know how. I'm married to a witch, and I think it really help you to be stronger.
Yeah.
And also more flexible with things in life. And by flexible, actually, I mean more than just, trying to adapt to things. Because usually when we think, this person is more flexible, we can adapt to different scenarios. I would also include in flexible to like when people like reach this stage and start like giving less of a shit.
Yeah.
About things,
that is so liberating when you don't give two flying fucks about something.
So I will include that into the flexibility part, so the point of that is how I feel about it. It would help me because you become stronger, and like being flexible, you've been able to support me, especially when we are in distance and I'm getting stressed out. I always can, you always have an advice that is usually based in many discussions we have had before that have touched in or have related to our beliefs. Your spiritual practice as a witch, and also, some more practical advices like do this type of rituals. Burn some sage after you shower, or just light a lavender incense before you go to sleep as a ritual. So like those type of things. The hair treatment that you created for me, the shaving cream you created for me, the sleeping tincture, the manly tincture you created for me.
Manly tincture, yeah.
Manly tincture in the sense of for men's health, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, having somebody with that type of knowledge that can help you not only, with your mood, not only in the spiritual part or in your feelings, but also can help you in more practical sense with all these advices or like things that you create. I would say it's amazing, man. I'd say I'm
Oh,
very lucky.
I'm just doing my job. Well, you talked about how I've helped you, me being the witch, but how has, for you, a more like personal, inside your head kind of level, how has paganism, and being a pagan atheist, how has that helped you, like, as a person, as a spiritual being? How has that helped you? Um,
I think one of the best thing that helps me with, it's one of the problems I have. It's unlike you, and I know we were talking about chaos and uncertainty and all that. I have problems with uncertainty.
mm,
I really do. I don't feel comfortable with uncertainty. I always try to become that Laplace demon, like try to know all the possible factors so I can make the best decision. Um, the problem with that, it's like not only that it's impossible, you get stressed out.
yeah.
So paganism, it's helped me to deal a little bit with uncertainty. I mean, first of all, it helped me understand that, I mean, even though I knew many things about chaos in math, it was paganism really what allowed me to put that math knowledge into practice and find a profound meaning for it. And so, like, oh, so I have to be aware that it's impossible to erase uncertainty.
Mhm.
Uncertainty, it's natural. It always occurs naturally in life, and it's impossible to be reduced.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you need to learn to deal with that. And I think that would be one of, I mean, if it was one thing I would have to say, it would have to be that one. Which I think it should be the goal of spiritual practices. Just, I'm not saying if the goal, but one of the goals should help you learn about living,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
the things that you need to learn to keep, to stay alive, to stay healthy alive, you know,
Very grounded.
which goes more than just eating. Huh?
It's very
Eating well
like
or resting.
it's a very practical, like grounded view of spirituality because I think I'm going to speak for myself, but I think this will resonate for a lot of people who've lived in like the Western Hemisphere, or in cultures impacted by the West. When we think of the spiritual, it's always, my mind automatically goes to like that transcendental place, like the spiritual as being some other realm distant from me, as being something beyond physical reality. And paganism is a celebration of physical reality as much as it is a celebration of whatever might be transcendent, right? It's the immanent and the transcendent. And so if I had to answer that question just off the top of my head right now, as being a celebration of like my body, of my cycles as a person, the uterus, a celebration of physical reality. It helps to like uplift it and create a better balance between the transcendent and the physical. And it's also helped me to see how like this separation of the transcendent versus physical reality, it's a construct that we silly humans came up with, you know?
Another label.
Another label, right? Because I was raised Catholic, and in Catholicism and Christianity, God is somewhere else, and physical reality is lesser than heaven,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And that's just fucked up on so many levels. Not going to get into all those levels right now, but I guess just really quickly, like as a woman, you know as that construct of the transcendent versus the physical was created, the misogyny within Catholicism in this case was, they automatically started associating women more with that physical reality because of our cycles, because of, the fact that we're the ones giving birth, and so like automatically it's not just a construct that separates the transcendent from the physical, it also, creates a hierarchy of the transcendent is greater than the physical, and the physical is a sign of weakness. It means, we're all born with original sin, and we are impure, and we don't deserve God's mercy, but He is so merciful and loves us. It's sick. It's just, I'm gonna say it. Like, I have no problem critiquing Christianity. I'm sorry. I just, especially Catholicism. It's what I grew up with and whatnot. But yeah, that would be like the most liberating aspect of paganism for me, is that celebration of the physical. And so going back to your comment about how paganism and spirituality can serve for very real everyday purposes. It's not just this thing that, it's not like we go to a church, we worship or whatever, and then we leave our spirituality practice at the church, and we don't go back to it until the next Sunday. It's daily. It's living. It's real. It's tangible. As much as it is also transcendent and astral and otherworldly. So yeah. So let me look at the comments. Scientist Witch Gerardo says thank you. Let me see if there are any questions or comments that I missed. Thank you. They're talking about Reiki. Oh, Mystic Crone says, you guys are so adorable. Aren't we? Aren't we, though?
That's good.
Especially my man. He's so cute.
Thank you.
Mi cuchito. Okay, I think we touched on, I don't know if we only have 2 or 3 people watching, so I don't know if anybody has any last minute questions. Scientist Witch said, I think we should do a live chat together. This thing has been great. Oh, yay! Oh, Mr. Crone says, yes, we both are, we are cute. Yay! Yes, live chats, I'm down. Now that I understand how to do this.
Yeah. I'm
so technologically ignorant. It took a while. It was a struggle. The struggle was real, but now I got it down. Yeah, we should schedule that. So thank you guys for watching, for everyone who watched. If anybody's checking this video out after the broadcast, if you have any more questions for us or want us to dive deeper into, if you want to dive deeper into whatever we might have talked about in this rambly video, comment below after the live broadcast is done. And Scientist Witch says, so after my shameless promo, we should schedule later. No, promo all the way. Promo all you want. Promos are good. So yes, thanks everybody for watching. Cochito, do you have any last comments or anything?
No, I think probably just one thing. After understanding paganism and how fun it is, I can see why the Roman Catholic Church tried to burn all of them. It was too much competition, man. Right?
Okay, so on the one hand, you have to practice abstinence. Right? You have abstinence and oppression, and women can't be priests, and being gay is wrong. But on the other hand, it's have sex with whoever or however you want, as long as it's consensual. Respect yourself, your body, and others, and the natural world, and just be chill. Hell yeah, I want to be chill,
Exactly. The only way to compete against that was burning people.
Well, yeah, oppression is real. It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mimor.
Thank you.
I
This
have
was
a
it
feeling.
was a very fun experience.
Yay, thank you for being on my channel. I had to like work so hard to convince you. Not really, actually. You were pretty open to it. I was surprised, actually.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to help you
Yay!
on your channel.
Yay! You're so supportive. You're the best. Well, I have a feeling Gerardo and I, or Gerardo, Darío and I don't know, we might be having a chat sometime. And I don't know, Darío, you might appear on my channel again for some more chit chats. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
As long as you're down for it, I'm down for it.
Okay.
So thanks to everybody who's watching now live. Thanks to anybody who will be watching post-broadcast. And until next time, many blessings. Bye.
Bye.